We up and
Right.
running?
We're live. We're up and running. How we doing, everyone? Hope we're all good. So I'm joined with Paul today. Peter couldn't make it, unfortunately, dropped out last minute. So listen,
show.
if you are tuning in with us today, we are going to be diving into our 5 top strategies or best tips for upgrading your energy, having best possible daily energy, which, by the way, is pretty much 5 essential things that you need to have really, really good levels of health, if we could call that, and like key contributors to having a good looking physique. If you're wanting to lose body fat easier, if you're wanting to build muscle easier, get a more toned, defined body, look better than when you look in the mirror, right? These are the kind of the found.
I think you froze.
Great. We froze. Is that what you said?
I think you froze a wee bit there. I thought I had been left.
It did for a split second, and then it just clipped. Thought I'd bailed on you again.
Aye.
Yeah, hopefully that won't happen today. But yeah, and listen, the reason I wanted to cover this topic today on energy is, one of the most common reasons that men come to work and coach with me and join my Rebirth program is energy. A lot of the guys, of course, they want to have a better looking body and stuff, and that's a longer term goal for them. But in the short term, I find so many people just want to feel better, want to feel healthier and have better energy, especially the guys who are working long days, come in and they've got kids to deal with and don't feel like they've got much left to be dad and run around with the kids and do their workouts and stuff. And that impacts motivation, which was the theme last week, right? And when you have better energy, you don't really need as much willpower. You don't need to rely on hard discipline tactics as much, because when you feel good, you do good stuff more often and you are more consistent. So we're going to dive into some of these things. We're also going to give you like stuff you can take away, stuff that you can actually implement into your day, some daily practices that will give you a boost in your energy and contribute to getting fitter, stronger and changing your body. So on that note, Paul, how is your energy today? I know that your mood is uplifted in the past 4 days for specific reasons.
Feeling, yes, energy is up. Nursery's open back up, so the boys are back in, which is massive energy boost for me.
More mental energy back to yourself.
Yes, physically and mentally. Yep. So they've been back in 3 days, and yep, it's good for them and it's good for me as well, definitely. So a very positive start to the week when it comes to that, and then it means I can have more energy to do maybe a wee bit more fun stuff with the guys on my days where they're not in nursery and over the weekend.
So and I bet I'm going to guess that the kids are sleeping better being back to nursery. Is that having an impact or not?
I would say they've had three good nights in a row. Touch wood, that does not change. But yep, three solid nights in a row. They've been sleeping and it's been ideal. So yep, it's had a good impact so far this week, getting them back in, and we'll get back into this being a bit more of a routine for them as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of the guys listening into this will relate to that massively if their kids are back in nursery after the younger kids back in school. It's good times. A little bit of hope, man, getting back to some slowly.
I think so.
Back to some normality.
I can't even imagine doing the homeschooling, to be honest. I think that would be quite challenging. Yeah, definitely. They're obviously nursery, and it's just they don't really. Ollie and Max are quite young. They're only kind of coming up for 2 and 3. They don't really have much attention when it comes to anything. A couple of minutes and then they're off. But if it was actually to be teaching and trying to get kids to sit down, I think I would struggle with that a wee bit as well. That'd be a different challenge altogether. Hats off to the parents who are doing that just now still.
Yeah, well, hopefully not for too much longer.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get back to normal. So, on that note, we were talking about sleep, which happens to be like our number one step in upgrading your energy, your mental clarity, cognitive function. It's, you know, your sleep is so important to even just fat loss, right? It's a massive contributor that a lot of people don't consider, because this is where all your hormones are regulated. It's where, you know, during the day, being awake is catabolic, which ultimately means that we are stressing the body out. We are breaking tissue down consistently. We're constantly turning over proteins and rebuilding, right? But all the waste products that are created inside the body from, you know, the brain, just from thinking, problem solving, dealing with little kids, right? The brain's constantly breaking down waste products, and the muscle tissues are constantly breaking down waste products, especially if you're training hard, you're doing workouts, you're working towards some goals. And those waste products need to be cleared out, and that happens in your sleep. That is where most of your recovery happens. And if you're not getting enough sleep, then your brain isn't functioning as well as it should be. Your body isn't operating as well as it should be. This is also where I find a lot of people struggle with cravings and finding it difficult to not eat good most of the time, because when your sleep is shit, you feel shit, and ultimately this is when we feel like eating shit foods, you know. And we can come up with some nutritional stuff to fill satiety, make sure you're getting the right boxes ticked and all that kind of thing, but it still doesn't really sort the issues that we get from poor sleep. We tend to make worse off decisions more often. We tend to not train as hard, not recover as well from workouts and stuff, and that's something that really needs to be fixed, or at very least improved, depending on where you're at. What's your experience with that, Paul, from yourself and from working with clients?
I feel like for myself, probably myself and clients as well, it would be possibly that you take it for granted sleep, almost. Mm-hmm. If you don't really know anything too much about it, or just some people just aren't interested, really. It is, and you don't think about it in that way, how it's going to contribute, how you're feeling, stuff like that. How you feel just becomes your kind of, that's normal. Because I would say before, like, leaving the army and becoming a personal trainer, and even a few years of being a personal trainer and having the gym, sleep wasn't something that I massively looked into or focused on. And before, I think it's just because that's how my life was. I was very team no sleep.
Yeah.
I used to, in the army, you used to get up early and you would do some phys and stuff like that. And your working day would be whatever it is. And then in the evenings was kind of your free time. But I never had like I will go to sleep at this time and I would watch a movie or a box set. I wouldn't have like, I'm getting up at 6. I wouldn't think it was outrageous to go to sleep at 1 or 2 in the morning and just get up and then crack on with the day. Try and sneak a nap in the afternoon or something, back at my room or whatever. Like a lot of guys do still, probably. But that kind of continued when I left, because I was still very early in the morning. We did early morning group sessions. So I was still getting up at like 4:30, 5 in the morning. And my routine was very similar, because I would do my work in the morning, I would train. Not having a good sleep never really impacted stuff, because I would kind of have a nap, or I would try and catch up here or there, or I never had really any other kind of, what's the word, commitments or anything that was I needed a lot of energy for, apart from like training or whatever.
Yep.
So I kind of just took it for granted, and I just caught my sleep when I wanted to, and I would watch TV and I'd happily binge watch a box set or whatever, because I got hooked, and I'd be like, it's cool, I'll catch my sleep tomorrow or the next day or whatever. I'll go to bed early tomorrow. And I was just kind of in that kind of loop. And I would say it probably wasn't actually until we had Ollie that I really felt my sleep had been took away. And it was, even when leading up and when Kellyanne was pregnant and stuff, and people would say, oh, say goodbye to your sleep. I was always kind of, I don't sleep that much anyway. I'm good. I can function on 4 hours sleep. To myself, I would be thinking that just like, it'll be fine. But you don't really think about the other energy that you need, like outside of actually just walking about doing your work. The physical and maybe the emotional energy that came along with that was when I thought, I'm tired, and our sleep's been impacted because Max was like 11 months later, so it's been like a whole kind of 2 years of sleep has been impacted because the two of them have been so young. But now they're getting through it. I can now see the importance in my sleep and how it. I kind of mentioned it last week, how your mood changes and all that kind of stuff. It really has a big impact on like the whole of my day. It impacts how I eat. It impacts how it all kind of joins together with my nutrition, my hydration, how I'm training, and how focused I am, how much I can concentrate on things. It just, it has a big impact on my day to day.
I just want to jump in with a good example here. So one of the guys that I've been coaching for a while in my Inner Circle program, Keith, doing really well as of late, smashing his workouts. He's consistent, he's getting stronger, and he's adhering to the program. But a few months previously, he was very kind of stop and start. He was consistently showing up to our calls and sharing his struggles and stuff like that. But he was on off with workouts. He was on off with his eating habits, etc. And sleep is something that we push. It's a habit that we coach the guys through for a whole 2 week periods. We do bedtime routines, and we'll talk about this in a little second, because that's going to help you if you're listening get better sleep. But I was asking him recently, like, Keith, you're smashing it recently, right? Like, you've been hitting all your workouts every week for a few months. It's like you're showing up to the calls. You've got a different energy. You've got like a different confidence about you. You're in the zone. Like, what would you put this down to? And one of the biggest things is like, well, finally you started getting better sleep. Making a point, having a bedtime, and I think that's impacted massively. He's doing some other things, some mindset and journaling and stuff that's helping just keep him focused. But the sleep has been massive. So it's always going to increase your adherence to achieving anything. And there's been so many times where we've fixed a client's sleep, and it's not just their daily energy that's improving, but their body starts to change as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's going to be a combination of being able to train harder, lift a bit more weight, recover better from that, and just making better decisions because you feel better a lot of the time. So it's a simple thing. It's a hard thing to change if you have been used to staying up very late. And here's one of the things that's like, I feel like when I first started having my sleep being negatively impacted was in the army too, and not just like because sometimes we do sleep deprivation stuff on exercise, we're up all night and we're on guard duties and stuff. That aside, when the internet first became like a thing, for like a place for people to often spend a lot of their time. Remember, like one of the first social network sites was Bebo. Do you remember Bebo?
Bebo, I remember Bebo. Yeah.
When Bebo first came out, I had a laptop, and we'd moved to Edinburgh from Cyprus.
Yeah.
And we had our own bunks, and we had internet and stuff in the rooms. Like that was a first for us. I'd be on this thing all night, like midnight, 1 a.m. And at the time, I didn't know that it was impacting my performance because I was usually one of the fitter guys in the platoon, but when we were doing PT, I noticed like I was starting to drop behind on a lot of the runs and struggle and stuff. And I don't know why I didn't put two and two together then, but reflecting now, like I know it was the sleep getting worse and the bedtime habits. And here's something important for you that are listening. How we're going to get into bedtime routines and how to get better sleep. So from me, and I'll let Paul chip in with some things as well. And I think it's important to have a bedtime routine because good sleep doesn't happen by chance. It happens as a result of good bedtime behaviors or good sleep behaviors. And it's important to pick a time to start being consistent, right? Because the body loves routine. The body loves consistency. And when it starts to get used to you going through a little transition, a little routine, it will start to pick up on that. And it's intelligent. It's going to be like, you know what, he's wanting me to go to sleep now. And you will start to doze off. And there's a few important things. So number one is picking a time. And I suggest you pick a time. People usually know when they wake up, don't they? Like, what time do you wake up?
Yeah.
Usually always between 6 and 7 or 6 a.m. You know, they've got a definitive time, but if you ask them when they go to sleep, it's like, you know, sometimes it's whenever I fall asleep in front of the TV, which is horrendous, a horrendous way to do it. So you want, I would think we want 7 to 9 hours, right? If you're getting less than that, then aim for 7, right? 7 is your minimum. You pick a time of getting to sleep in your bed that's kind of 7 to 9 hours off of your wake up time, because you probably know what your wake up time is. It's time to start knowing what your bedtime is too, and that's going to improve everything. And this is why this is the first thing we're talking about, because it's the most important thing. So before you get into bed, you want a bedtime routine, something to help you wind down, because it's like most people can't go from 0 to 100 first thing in the morning. The opposite is also true. We can't go from 100 to 0, and we are very stimulated in the modern age from artificial light, screens, caffeine, other types of stimulants, and just the high stress lifestyles that we're all living. So we need that time to wind down. And artificial light at night, your body can't really discriminate between that and the sun. And that is sending, you know, loud and clear signals to your body to keep daytime hormones humming, like cortisol, right? Now, some of the biggest offenders are screens from computers, TVs, mobile phones, etc. So these things are sending blue light, which is telling your body to keep the cortisol humming, and that delays the production of recovery hormones like melatonin. We were speaking about recovery earlier, you know, washing out all those waste products. That has been, looking at screens at night has been shown to delay melatonin up to 3 hours and up to 50% in strength, which is a huge deal. That's a huge deal. That's having a massive negative impact on your recovery, just your recovery from a day, never mind your recovery from a workout. So it's going to be good to set a screen curfew as well. And the screen curfew wants to be before the bedtime in order to let you wind down. Now, screen curfew, I'm going to say anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. Closer to 90 minutes, the better. But if you're used to sitting up late watching TV and you're finding that hard to stop, go for 30. So bedtime, 7 to 9 hours before you wake up. Screen curfew, bedtime routine to wind down, 30 minutes before that. And that can be anything from journaling, meditation, some lights, yoga, stretching, a hot bath, reading some fiction, which is something that I do. I always journal under a dimmed light, candlelight in my bedroom. It's a pitch black room, and then I'll read some fiction, and my body just starts to shut down. I'll fall asleep. What's your take on that, Paul? Do you have something similar?
I would maybe not as extreme as yours. It's my evening is slight. It kind of all stems from because of the boys. So my routine has been almost dictated by trying to keep them in a good routine, and I need to prioritize stuff so that I'm sleeping. And then it's only been, I would say, so Ollie was in beside us and he's kind of next to me and in a cot for a while. So at night there was no TV. There was kind of, once you went into the room, it was just time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I needed to sleep when he was sleeping and just try to keep that going. And then because Max came along pretty much right after him, Ollie got papped out the room into his own room, and Max came in beside us. So then again, there was the TV's off. There's just nothing at night. It's just like straight off, you're into bed and sleep. And throughout that time, yes, I would say I've never done the kind of blue light blocking, probably because it's just never been, it wasn't really an issue then because the TV was off.
You mean the glasses? Blue light blocking glasses?
Yeah, the glasses. I've never used that. But the TV wasn't on in the evening in the room anyway. And I would try and read a book. I'm terrible. I'm getting a bit better at reading. But reading at night, it pretty much just switches me off. I just end up, I need to read paragraph after paragraph, trying to get it to sink in, because my eyes I just start drifting right away when I'm reading.
That's good though. If that's acting like a trigger, just to switch you off, then
Yeah.
That's a good thing. What are you reading?
I was reading Ant Middleton's, what was it? Zero Negativity there, right. And I'm now reading David Jason's book. I'm getting into that, the Del Boy one.
I've not read it. I thought you were going to say David Goggins.
No. I listened to that one and kind of read it. That was a couple of years ago. But this one, just the David Jason one, I'm getting into that, which is quite funny because he's kind of talking about his life. Because he turned 80, and that's kind of him talking about his 80 years. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
and a wee bit funny. But now that the boys have they're both out of your room, I would say I probably watch a wee bit more TV in the evening. However, I would have, we do aim to have the TV switched off, I would say between kind of 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then some reading as well. And that kind of does calm us down. And also try to be as off the phone as possible, because that can be quite a distraction. Just kind of, when you pick up your phone, you not often in the evening, I tend to not be picking it up for any reason. There's nothing actually happening. Like, I would say between after 7 p.m, there's not much happening on my phone. But when you pick it up and you flick open Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it kind of it draws you in a wee bit and kind of,
yeah, and you get stuck on that.
And it's not so much that I feel like the light's picking me up. It's just I'm just scrolling through kind of nothingness, and then I engage and I'm reading something, and before you know it, your mind's kind of sparked again, or you start thinking about, it could be work, or it could be something that you're going to do the next day, or training, or just anything really.
And that can, do you find that kind of stuff can keep you thinking at night when you're trying to get to sleep? 100%. And I notice that depends on the type of book that I read. So if I read something that's related to workout programming, or if it's related to business or coaching, nutrition, man, like I could be lying there forever thinking of some ideas, like, right, how could I put that into practice next week? And then, but if I read this, I tend to stick to either fiction or autobiographies now, because I know that it just takes me into a different world, and I stop thinking about like my day and what to do tomorrow and that stuff, and that's where you tend to switch off and wind down. It's a much better idea.
Yeah. So I just try to have. I don't have. I would just say I kind of switch stuff off a couple of hours before, and then, or like a good 9:30, 10, everything's off, and then a bit of reading, and I tend to just drift away, and
We've got a question.
Go.
We've got a question from your brother.
What was he saying?
Can you see the comment?
No.
Right. And listen, if anyone else is tuning into this live, drop us a comment, drop us a like, let us know. But Peter is just trying to throw a bit of a spanner in the works and try to be funny. So, would you rather know exactly when you're going to die, or know exactly how you're going to die?
That's a toughie.
If you have to pick one, I'm going to pick when. I'm going to say I'd rather know when I'm going to die, because then I can probably, if that's sooner rather than later, then I could probably give me some good accountability to stop doing meaningless shit and do more fun stuff.
I would probably agree, because I feel like if I went with the other option, if it was like you get knocked down by a bus, then you don't know when and what bus it is, so you'd be kind of overthinking.
And anxiousness, watching buses over your shoulder.
It would ruin the rest of your life, however long it might be.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid roads and buses. I would like to know when, and then I could plan. Hopefully it wouldn't be the next day. That'd be a bit of a gutter, but if you know, I definitely will go with find out when.
If it was next day, would you go to bed with a nice bedtime routine tonight? I don't think so.
I don't know if you'd be able to sleep that night.
Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next step, which is what I would probably say is the next important thing over sleep is hydration. Massively overlooked step in health, energy, brain clarity, cognitive function, just how you can think and be productive all day. And also, again, massive contributor to your physique, your ability to lose body fat, build muscle, recover, those things. The reason this is so important, and so many people just don't do it. Like it's surprising. Like when we start, a lot of people in the rebirth program and the 28-day thing, I'm like, okay, week 1, right, I want you to do this, but I want you to do this one simple thing: hit 2 liters of water every day. And so many people are like, man, this wouldn't be a toughie. I'm like, come on. Like you need to be drinking water, and that's probably why a lot of people feel like crap and don't have a lot of energy, because your brain thrives on that liquidy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens inside the body, we've probably all heard it. Oh, Peter says thanks. You're welcome, Peter. Great question.
No problem.
Yeah, it's all a chemical process or electrical process, and we depend on that liquidy environment for all these processes to work efficiently, and it contributes to like our ability to absorb nutrients from the food we're eating as well, and tons of things, right? So of course, when we are not optimally hydrated, we are not going to function as well, and that's going to show up from day to day and how we feel, right? And that's something that can be fixed very quick. We can have a big impact on how we feel, perform from day to day, solely by hit 2 liters of water, or hit 2.5 or 2 to 3 liters of water. Do you have any examples of when you've implemented this and felt a difference yourself, or that's made a difference for some clients, mate?
That we're the same with clients. So since we really started, when people come on board with, that is like our minimum target that we kind of set people, try get 2 liters of water in, and it's like a standard I would have a set for myself as well. 2 liters is the minimum that I try and get in. I think the issue with all this I think we said it before we come on, this, when it comes to like energy and how people are feeling, it's often because people are like, they've had their sleep routine for so long, and they've just functioned on it, and they just think that's just how their body feels. That's normal to them. And it's the same with like people's hydration, and they just think, I can have 8 coffees a day and they're just getting by. They're just pushing, they're just getting through the day. They're not really focusing on how much kind of water intake they're getting or anything like that. And they just aren't really looking at how it impacts on how they feel. And part of it is because it's not like an overwhelming feeling of, you don't just have 2 liters of water and feel fantastic. It doesn't just instantly fill you with this energy right away. But if you start repeating these things kind of day in, day out, that's when you start to feel the benefits, and it starts coming over time. And then you can actually look back at, wow, I used to power through the day on coffee or Red Bull or Monsters or whatever it might be, and never really think about my nutrition. And now I'm not taking as much of that stuff, and I have more energy just by drinking water and try to get a good sleep, and the kind of nutrition stuff that we'll move on to as well. But it's stuff that you don't really notice it until you either look back and you can see the change that it's having and the positive impact, or people just kind of stick with what they're doing and they just accept that that's kind of normal and how they feel, and they don't really look to change it really.
Yeah, and what you mentioned there, like not really feeling like a massively difference in like, well, I'm so healthy now. Like I'm I'm buzzing. No, in some cases, like I do like week 1, week 2, people do report like they feel quite different, with some of the nutritional changes as well. But certainly, I don't think there's like any drastic like, whoa, what's happened? Like this is amazing. But when you feel these things, emotions, when you take them away, that also goes for like the bedtime routines. Because mine is quite consistent, and Friday and Saturday nights sometimes we do sit up a bit longer, but it's not too much. But like every now and again there'll be one of those nights where it's like, you know, I'll just binge box sets till like midnight. Man, that totally crushes me. Like the next day, God forbid, man, if I've got like important work to do, I'm not with it at all. I just feel I'm in a mood. I'm not feeling like I want to get after it. You know, and my training sessions usually don't go well. And the same happens with water. You know, if I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I'm done in. And also if I feel quite stressed out and reactive to stuff, I'm at a stage where I can kind of pin that down to a couple of things. If my sleep was good that night, if I had my bedtime routines, that I'm like, right, I drank 2 glasses of water today. It's 4 p.m. Right, that's what's going on here. You know, I know those things. So it's like when you take them away, you notice like you're not operating well. You feel like crap, and that's a big insight. So
it's, I think a lot of that as well. See, when people start getting, like when people come on board and they feel that initial, I've got this energy, and I think it's a combination of like taking positive actions and making changes. I think that's a bit of that as well, on top of kind of these positive actions or routines that they're starting to build. But I don't think it's like a massive energy surge that you get from that. I think it's a combination of starting to take control and put good practice in.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Aye, totally. And one thing that I think is important to do to help you do it, because it's often just remembering. You know, I don't find like when we encourage people to drink 2 litres of water a day, I don't feel anybody just goes, nah, I don't bother with that. You know, that seems really just difficult to do any of that at all. It's just remembering, right? Because once we're into our daily routine, we're in autopilot. And then you can get to the end of the day like, oh, I totally forgot that. So if we bring something in that kind of snaps us out, and it can act like visual triggers as well. So, you know, you can get those 2 litre bottles like of water, you know, the ones with the handles, the big plastic things. You can pick them off on Amazon for like £5 or something. I always encourage clients to get them, especially clients who are out leaving the door, or even if you are working from home and in the house. Like if you fill that up the night before, or fill it up first thing in the morning, and set it somewhere, you know, that's just staring you in the face. You know, by a certain time you have to have that drank and that finished. That makes such a difference, and that's one of the best practices or habits that you can have for your health, for your energy, for your body. What kind of things work for you, mate? Would you do anything different?
Yeah, well, I've got the big kind of 2 litre. I think it's 2 litre, the one you talked about with a big handle. I've done that before, having it sitting up and just having it about the house or at work or wherever I am. But now I prefer to just have like a pint glass, and I can just kind of sink that. But I like sparkling water. Sparkling water is I can go all day with sparkling water, and I feel like water's it's a nothing thing. It's like kind of just, it doesn't taste anything. So sometimes the wee bubbles just change it up. A wee bit refreshing, and then you can just drink it. So sparkling water, and kind of just sometimes having a wee bit of diluting juice in it as well.
You can put some like lime cordial or something like that
in it. Just that stuff. And it is, I think you do notice if you start hitting like, because I feel like I can now hit 2 litres pretty easy. I can usually hit it before the afternoon. If I don't, then I'm thirsty. and you notice when you feel thirsty more often, and then that can lead towards that kind of start stepping into the nutrition side where you might be thinking that you're hungry, and actually what you need is to just stay on top of your water a wee bit more.
100%. Because that is one of the things that contributes to satiety, that kind of full belly feeling.
Yeah.
And having enough daily water intake in general does, fill your belly up with fluids. So we're getting those sensitivities fulfilled, if you like, and it's kind of helping switch off some of those signals that you might feel you need some food in there. And that communicates with your brain, the gut, when you have those things in there, and it makes a massive difference, for sure. And speaking of food, mate, we're gonna dive into number 3, which is I would say the third priority, and that's nutrition. How much your nutrition changes or has an impact on your energy. From eating a diet that's high in processed foods, high in carbohydrates, processed carbohydrates, more so to speak, low in protein, low in vitamins, minerals, nutrient density in general. That's going to have a drain on your energy. But we're not really going to talk about what not to eat. So we're not even going to talk about all the strategies that you need to lose body fat and stuff. I'm going to come up with 2 things here, and that is eating enough protein and eating enough fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
I feel that they have a big impact. Protein is one of the most satiety filling foods that there is, and that basically means it keeps you feeling fuller for longer. So if you have a decent amount of protein at breakfast, lunch and dinner, or to simplify that, you're just getting enough through the day, that's going to make a huge difference to how you feel, right? It's also brain building. It's building and repairing muscle tissues from your workouts. If you're not getting enough of those things, again, your body is going to notice that, and it's going to show up in how you feel each day. Yeah. Just by adding more protein to your diet, if you're not getting enough, and a lot of what you're watching or listening to this won't be, because I never find anyone who is when they come through the program. A good target to aim for protein is probably, if you're a numbers guy, somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of body weight. Or something that you could simply do is take the palm of your hand, and if you can see that, there's there.
Yeah.
Size of the palm of your hand, and as thick as your palm of your hand. That's give or take, and meat, fish, and eggs is going to be somewhere around about 25, 30 grams of protein, maybe 35, a little bit more. If you go for 1 to 2 of them at each meal, if you're having 3 meals a day, that's going to put you in a really, really good place. Obviously, if you've got a ton of weight to lose, that 0.8 gram to 1 gram is probably going to be an over calculation.
Yeah.
What do you think the good ways of getting around that, Paula? What's the advice you give in that case? When
it comes to protein,
yeah,
it can be. We usually kind of go between we usually go kilograms, so kind of depends on the person as well, and if they are if this was a change that somebody was making that's brand new, then I would just start them off at a kind of lower bracket. So if somebody's just really starting to focus on protein without going through numbers and stuff, you could just say, we work mostly with females. So I would say if you try and aim you could even say between 80 grams and 120 grams of protein a day.
Yep.
And if they were focusing on calories, whatever it is, then you could break it down into whatever percentage that might be. And then as people get more comfortable and they get used to including protein in their diet, and they start hitting it each meal, then it kind of gradually increases slightly anyway. And when you feel like they need to increase it slightly, or they're increasing calories, they'll just move that bracket slightly, maybe 90 to 130, then 100 to 140, and just kind of have that kind of a target that's flexible that they can be in between, instead of hit this number. But that kind of tends to work. It doesn't need to be exactly this every single day, and you can be in between, because everybody's diet changes day to day and that kind of thing. So
circumstances and situations changing. I like what you mentioned there in terms of just in the beginning stage at least, just getting better with it, just having more. That does make it. People see massive benefits just from having more than they're currently at, and that is a point that I like to stress when I'm teaching that in my groups and giving the guys a task. So I'll say, look, these are the optimal targets to aim for each day. However, I know there's going to be plenty of you thinking, man, that's a lot. For me to jump to that, because like I said, protein being the most satiety filling food there is, when you do add more of that, you're going to feel it. It's a struggle to eat more, quite a lot in a lot of cases. So to jump to that target would be like a grind to eat it all. So it's like, look at how much you're eating just now. Like, take a guesstimate. If you reckon you're getting 1 to 2 portions of protein per day, all right, let's try and get 2 to 3. Let's make that the target. If you're getting 2 to 3, then let's see if we can get 3 to 4 and work on that for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Try and make it the new normal and see. Let's just assess and see where that takes us to.
Yeah,
definitely
with that. And then
on you go. I was going to jump into the fruits and veggies thing, but I'll let you go.
It was just with the protein. I've kind of lost my track of my thought there. When it comes to, like you said, starting off, some people, they don't really know. Some people who start off with us have like no clue of where to get protein from. So some people actually start off with focusing on one meal and trying to get kind of a good protein source, just one target, as in get it in that meal. Most people tend to be eating more protein than they might actually think, and they just kind of, I would say, overthink it. But yeah, I would say sometimes people can start off very basic and be focusing on one
meal a day.
one proper good focus serving, and talking like try to get at least kind of 30 grams, because some people really underestimate stuff sometimes when people are putting, like, even if somebody was putting some ham on a sandwich, they would class that as like my protein, and you think, well, that is probably about between 3 and 6 grams of protein there. That's not a protein serving. You're talking like, let's look at like a chicken breast or some fish or a really prominent good source that will kind of make a difference, and you'll notice it when you're trying to eat it, and it'll make a difference to how you're feeling satiety wise, meal to meal. But
yeah, quite right. And protein powder is good as well. I admittedly at first I didn't like to admit that it was a good option to go for protein powder, because I'm always trying to get people to get it from food as much as possible.
Yeah.
But the reality is everyone's busy. We can't always get enough from real food. That is difficult, and it's actually a good option if you find a good quality protein source that comes from a grass-fed whey, or maybe if you're taking a plant-based one, whatever. Yeah. But it can help you hit that target. An average serving of protein powder usually gives you about 25, 30 grams ish.
5 to 30 grams.
Most of them, and it's also a very cost-effective option as well, because if you let's say if you get a portion of that each day for a month, and it costs you like 30 to 40 quid for your bucket of protein. You imagine trying to get that from steak or chicken?
No, I was actually speaking to Peter about this yesterday.
A day or something like that. If you're buying grass-fed meat and free range, maybe organic chicken and stuff, that's a lot of money. So because some people look at protein powder like, man, it's 40 quid, but well, listen. If that's helping you hit that protein target, can you imagine getting it from chicken every day, beef, and that's going to cost you a lot more and be a little bit less convenient, because you need to cook it, eat it, clean the dishes to get that in you as well.
Well, we actually have a lot of people think, me and Peter we train a lot more kind of females, and sometimes we have the issue, like when it comes to increase your protein, and sometimes people think, if I start eating protein and I'm lifting or training, I'm going to end up massive. And and they associate protein powder with it just because of the way it is kind of often marketed as well. But so sometimes we need to get over that kind of hurdle where we're trying to talk people into, because a lot of people are looking at weight loss and it's always lower calories and you're trying to maintain a deficit. However, we're trying to educate people and build people back up, and it's probably a different subject, but like gaining muscle and lean tissue, and
it's important.
They can start.
I also get guys who are concerned about that. They're like, "Is this not just for bodybuilders?" And I'm like, "No, protein is for health, right?
Yes, for health."
And I would like it's to get bulky and muscly, even for men, it is so difficult. And it depends on who you're looking at as a role model for those kind of things. You know, you need to be aware that there's a lot of people on social media, fitness influencers and stuff, who are taking juice. Do you know what I mean? Steroids and stuff, and that, you know, you could be totally flunking your protein intake and your sleep and your hydration and stuff, and you're full of juice, and your body's going to respond very well to that.
Yeah.
And that's completely unnatural. But if you look at me, what do I weigh? I know what I weigh in pounds. I'm like 165 pounds, right? And I've been weight training since 2012, right? And I'm tiny. Do you know what I mean? It is difficult to bulk and gain muscle, and I'm a guy who men produce more of the testosterone and growth hormones than women do on average. Very, very difficult to end up like that.
Okay, but it's just like they can still build some muscle, and
which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, because then it can get you away. You burn more calories the more kind of muscle you have, and you can step away from this always being super low and thinking weight loss, when you can kind of flip it and start thinking more. There is also, you need to lower your calories to create that deficit and stuff, but eventually you want to come out of that kind of cycle and be focusing on health and just sleeping well, drinking your water, and nailing your nutrition along with your kind of training kind of thing, tying it all together, that it isn't just for us, isn't always a dieting phase of weight loss kind of thing.
Yeah. And back into that nutrition side of things on the fruits and the vegetables, I actually prefer vegetables and fruits. I think we should eat more veggies than we do fruits. Just simple reasons that we get enough. We get everything from vegetables that we do fruits. That's not to say fruits are bad. I eat plenty of them. Yeah. Sometimes I'll come across a lot of men who I don't really like vegetables. So I just eat lots of fruits. I'm eating like 6 portions of fruit a day. And you have to realise, well, that's bumping up your total daily sugar intake. And if we consider maybe the other snacks and chocolates and stuff you're having, you know, what total daily sugar intake has an impact on your health. You know, the general saying, I think, is 50 grams or something. You don't want to be over that. And although it's good sugars, not necessarily good sugars, it's a healthier form of sugars, because you're getting the water, the fibre, and the nutrients. But it's still contributing to your total daily sugar intake. It's contributing to your total calorie intake. And if you're trying to lose fat and get lean, that's making it a bit more difficult. Whereas vegetables are much lower in calories. There's no sugars. And they're packed full of fibre as well. So making life a lot easier. And a really simple way to do this is like just get your 5 a day, right? 5 a day. Like, we all know that, but the amount of people that don't do that consistently, it's very, very high. You know, we don't get consistently 5 a day. An easy way to get 5 a day, I like to look at it as, I eat 3 meals a day, and every meal I come to, I've got like, okay, what's my protein source? So we're developing nutritional principles here. Like, at a mealtime, what am I having for my protein? How much do I have? And what am I having for my veggies and fruits? Yeah. So I'll have like a portion of vegetables and a portion of fruits with a meal, or not, right? Maybe I'll have 2 portions of vegetables. And if I do that 3 times a day, and I'm always getting 2 portions, I'm at least getting 6 a day there. You know, just as a byproduct of applying that thought process to my meal. And I will always generally eat more veggies than fruits. So I'm probably about 2 to 3 fruits a day, and maybe 3 to 4 veggies, something like that. What do you reckon, Paul?
I would agree. I don't relate to when people struggle to eat fruit and veggies, because I've never ever had an issue with it. I've always kind of included both. The only vegetable I don't really like is a mushroom. I've even tried it. I've tried it again when I'm older and different, cooked different. I just don't like it. But everything else, I tend to just have. We've always got a fruit bowl. There's always stuff there. So when I see it, if I'm having something, then it would be a bit of fruit, an apple, a banana, or an orange. Nothing crazy. Or watermelon, actually. I like watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't eat. When people say they eat fruit, it's hard to say that you would eat like too much of it if that's not even a thing, because it's not like I go in and eat 3 bananas. If I'm having a banana, I'm having kind of 1 banana, or I'll have an orange. But that, along with if you're focusing on your protein and stuff, if you're controlling your diet and your hunger and you're drinking your water, then you shouldn't really need to be reaching for different things or snacks and try to fill the gap all the time in between things. And like you said, with the veggies, because they're higher in fibre, that has quite a good satiety rating as well. Like, it keeps you feeling fuller for longer, like protein. And if you're having that with your main meals, even if it is like 2 or 3 times, then it should be kind of keeping you satisfied between, if it's breakfast, lunch and dinner or whatever, however you structure your day. But it's just something I've never had to focus on. But when it comes to our clients, we just approach it the same way we would with protein. If somebody is starting off they don't eat any fruit or vegetables at all, then we would start off with have 1 serving a day. Like, just start off at the lowest point you can and just start getting that nailed down each day, and then you can start to build on it a wee bit. And it just slowly comes with time. Not many people don't have any fruit or veg. But there are cases where people say they don't like any vegetables, and I don't know. It's just try to get over that kind of a wee bit.
Yeah, you're not going to be healthy without it. So the sooner you start work on that, the better, and just like start small. Pick the vegetables that you either do like, you like, or moderately tolerate. Start with them, and then you spend maybe a focus 2 to 3 weeks on improving your veggie intake.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything else. Like, think of the game.
Even like when people if you have something that's kind of a wee bit more saucy, then Peter used to cut up.
I had last night.
Peter used to cut up his vegetables like proper, really, really small, and just you won't even notice that they're in there, but you're still eating them. And it doesn't need to be chewing on a bit of broccoli. You can.
Peter was one of the special children.
Aye. He used to scrape the cheese off the top of a pizza. Can you believe that? I know.
That's what happened for being a no-show.
Aye.
Pizza Pete.
Used to scrape all the topping off and just eat the base.
So, listen, we're moving on to the next one. We'll have some really great steps there. Bedtime routines, the hydration, ways to make that easier. And so we cover 2 things on nutrition, which you nail them, that's going to make a big difference for your energy, your health, and your physique in your body. Massive difference. Moving on to the next one, which is general daily movement. And no, I'm not really talking about sets and reps and exercising in the gym. I just mean being active in any way or form. The body was designed to move. If you don't use it, you lose it, and that also shows up in how you feel. For example, like if you stopped walking for a couple of months, you just sat, and you probably feel very, very stiff, and struggle to get moving. You wouldn't walk as fast or as long as you could. But that's because the joints get lubrication the more we move. The blood gets flowing around the body, which massively helps recovery from hard workouts, by the way, because it carries nutrients to the cells. That's where the nutrition is transported. And the more we're doing that, the better it helps. And it also contributes to fat loss and getting lean as well. One of my personal favorites here, and a lot of people say 6,000 to 10,000 steps a day or whatever. But one of my personal favorites is just frequent walking, getting outside and walking each day, particularly outside, because it's that's another thing that lifts your mood and how you feel. The more time we can spend close to nature, but that has massive benefits on your health. Like, it's like one of the best things you can do, and honestly, it's one of my favorite types of, I don't call it cardio, but active recovery, right? And that's a bare minimum for me. 2 walks a day with the dogs. I might not get 10,000 steps in. I don't know. Like, to be honest, I don't really track them. Sometimes when I'm doing a little challenge with my group, I'll track them and I'll be more conscious of walking a bit longer and just make sure I'm hitting the numbers. If you can build in the habits of walking once or twice a day, or it might be more frequent, if you can get like breaks through the day from your work. If it's a 15-minute interval, just walk for 10 to 15 minutes and do that a few times, man. You're going to be in a good place, like health in terms of movement. It makes a huge difference, that, Paul.
Yeah, I would say definitely walking is walking's just something I do every day. Walking, I do tend to have my watch on, counts my steps, and I would say 10,000 is probably the target I would always try and hit for me. I tend to get there without too much of an issue, especially when the boys are in and I'm chasing them about the house all day. It's kind of non-stop. But yeah, I would say steps is something that we use with clients, and it going for a walk or tracking your steps, even if it's just like a certain time, is a great tool for weight management. Even if you're not in a weight loss phase of your diet, it's just great. Like you said, gets the blood flowing, the joints are moving, your body is just getting outside, getting some fresh air. There's no downside to walking or moving more. There is no.
It contributes to any goal.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would say for us as well. Most recently, this past week, I've spoke to a couple of clients, and it's been trying to get the steps in a wee bit earlier in the morning as well, like having a time or maybe a benchmark they would like to hit earlier, because sometimes, obviously, when you might be working at home or maybe you're back at work now, when you finish after a 8 or 12-hour shift, like sometimes it's hard to get. People might not be motivated to go train or whatever it is, but sometimes people aren't also motivated to go for a walk around the street when it's getting a bit lighter now, but when it's pitch black and you're just like, I just want to get in and I want to get cozy or whatever it is. So getting up, getting out, getting moving, and it's like a positive start to the day, and then it has that knock on. You start drinking your water, then you start taking care of your nutrition, and then you have a good night's sleep.
Definitely feel that. we do it first thing to walk the dogs, and that the box for us, because it's like if anything happens in the day just gets carried away and we don't get time later, the dogs have already. So it's like we're out when a lot of people are still sleeping and the dogs are happy, they're sorted, and then we get moving as well. And it's a good start to the day. It wakes you up, it gets you moving. So it can be worth setting the alarm a little earlier to start off that way, even if it is 15 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it can only have kind of like obviously it has a domino effect, and it's like it has a positive. It's a positive start to the day. I see it as, unless it's going to be, if it doesn't fit in with your current kind of schedule or your lifestyle just now, you just need to fit in these kind of wee bouts of movement or walking throughout the day when you can. And if it happens to be in the evening, then that might just be when you need to do it. But it is, if it works for you, then I would suggest walking probably every day. Yeah,
and one of the things that I do is like on a day like this, a Tuesday and a Thursday, I know it's not a physical training day for me, like weight training.
Yeah.
So mine is walking the dogs, and also I know I'm going to be behind the computer quite a lot, doing work on websites, calls with clients and stuff. And often I get 5 minutes, maybe between a call or another tap. And I've got the foam roller sitting out on my living room floor. I've got mobility balls and stuff, and I'll just get on them. I'll do some mobility work. So I'm just moving, and I'll do some stretching anywhere that's feeling tight, and I'll work on that for 5 minutes between tasks, and then I'm straight back. And that keeps me feeling pretty good through the day. See if there's a day where I get lazy, which sometimes happens, and I don't do anything, and I've just been behind the computer working. Oh man, like I feel like crap. My neck's all tight, my traps are tight, my energy's just low. I want to phone a takeaway. Can't be bothered cooking. You think you would have a lot of energy because you've sat there reserving it, but it's the opposite is the case. Your energy drains. You just feel low, crappy, and that's when bad decisions are going to show up as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Bread meets bread. Burgers get delivered in 20 minutes, man. Sweet. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last part of this, and Peter. No, not Peter. Sorry, Peter's not here. Paul touched on this specifically, and I know why. Obviously, it's got to be having a plan in place for your day. It can have a massive effect on your energy, and just because the age your kids are at the moment, and the chaos that things are going to be in the house, I know why that's super important. So, talk us through, mate, like the importance of having a plan and how much an impact that has on your energy.
I would say that, like everything, it just has that knock on, and you don't. When you have a plan, it can still kind of get knocked off. Like life can happen and things just change. But if you do have some form of kind of plan for when you get up, what you're going to be having for your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner or whatever it might be, or any tasks that you need to get done. I know if people are working, they just need to go there and whatever work they've got to get done. But saving or conserving your energy is when you kind of plan that out. It means you don't have that moment when you get up and something doesn't go right. Like, I was going to have this for breakfast, and then you realise it's not there. That can then lead to you need to make a decision on what you're going to be having at that point, or you then have to go run and grab something for the shop, and then it's more energy on something that just throws you off. You didn't get to work on time, you didn't get your walk in. It just kind of if you're not planned and prepared, then it can have a knock on by just taking you off track slightly, or forcing you to make the decisions that you could have already made kind of the day previous or the night previous when it comes to like your nutrition, your sleep and things like that. Because then it will all have a knock on like that.
Totally feeling that. So am I right in saying that your point is it can be the difference of being in control of your day and your life rather than life just happening at you, and we what happens when that happens. Like everything goes out the window. It's okay. What will I grab? I'm busy. I'm stressed. I'm hungry. Look, there's a chocolate muffin in the cupboard. That the missus is stocked up on, and grabbing some of those things, or I'm eating some snacks for the kids' stash, and then energy just goes downhill from there. One, mentally, you feel like a failure. You feel bad because you've lost control. Two, you consciously know that you have eaten crap, and that's the one. And your confidence and how you show up to certain tasks each day. And three, the physical energy. Just because it doesn't fulfill the things that we've been talking about and help you feel good. So basically, when it comes to planning, mate, what's your strategy for making a plan each day? And I'm asking you, I'm not putting my spin on this just now because I know you are busier than me, so it's good to get this information from you because you're so young at the moment.
Yeah, it will change now. Like the kind of Monday to Wednesday will change slightly because the guys are in nursery, but it is kind of, they usually get up between kind of 6 and 7 currently. So we try to get up about 6, and we try to get a head start on them slightly. And then but the night before it's having kind of packed their bag, ready to go for nursery, having having my coffee cup out beside the kettle with a spoon in it ready just to tip it in. just wee things like that just sets up that morning routine. And then having if I'm going out my walk and I'm taking my bag, or if I'm meeting up with Peter at some point, I have my bag packed with my notepad, my notes, the laptop's in it, and it's just good to go. And then I'll have, most of the time, I'll just have my outfit there. I tend to wear shorts and t-shirt and a hoodie, so it's not too complicated.
You wear shorts and bloody snow, mate, don't you?
I had a week of jeans the other week, but I have my gear out ready to go, so it's just kind of a quick wash, brush your teeth, and then I'm ready. There's no kind of running about there, as well as the boys' outfits as well. But a lot of that's kind of Killan smashes that stuff. But it is all flowing. And then when it comes to meals, I'm pretty much the same. I have porridge in the morning. I usually have soup and a sandwich in the afternoon, and I'll snack on maybe some fruit. And then our evening meal is usually, we'll do whatever we're having, kind of protein wise, will be there, and then we'll have whatever meal it might be. So if it's mince, or if we're having some chili, or whatever we're having, then we have a kind of set routine for our main meal of the week, and then I have a wee bit of yogurt after that.
I like that.
It's very the same.
And I do like to promote some variation, especially in your diet and your meals, because it just reduces the chances of deficiencies and stuff, getting new nutrients and things like. But also, I also like having the same thing consistently every day when you are super busy and you've got a lot to think about. That's one less thing to think about. That's giving you more energy. It's giving you more stuff, more clarity in other areas. Do you know what I mean? If you're constantly having to think about like getting a different type of protein, a different type of veggies and stuff like that, and at least, you could pick the meals that are harder for you each day and just do that. And then one meal, the evening meal, when everybody's kind of relaxing and eating together, you can fling some different stuff in there and get more variation. Simplify.
Nice and simple. And I would say that's the key. Keep it simple and don't overthink it. Same with pretty much everything. Do the basics right, and keep it really simple. You'll be moving in the right direction.
Sweet, happy days. So we are going to finish it up there. We have covered 5 things: the importance of your sleep and how to get better sleep with some actionable steps with bedtime routines. Where to start with them: hydration, ways to make it easier to remember to get your water in, so it's not as much as a conscious thought effort, and you can make it a lot easier and feel better, perform better by getting more water. Nutrition, we covered 2 basic things with nutrition rather than trying to overwhelm. Work on those for a few weeks, nail them, and you'll notice a massive difference in how you feel, energy wise, brain clarity wise, productivity wise, satiety, not feeling hungry, and also you will see some positive changes in your body: losing body fat, building muscle, toning up, defining your body, all those good things, especially if you are training properly. General daily movement, some tips on just being more active and recovering better from each day and having better energy, feeling good in general. And then the importance of like having a simple plan from day to day, so that life isn't just happening at you and you can be successful with these kind of steps and practices. Makes a massive difference. Hope you took something from this. Thanks for tuning in if you're live or if you're watching it back. If you have any questions on this stuff, please drop them in the comments and we will get back to you. On that note, if you do need some help and some places to start with your nutrition, you can get a guide from my website, which will show you the portion sizes and how to get enough protein and vegetables and stuff. And basically a starting place in order to improve your energy, how you feel, and start losing body fat and getting better neck. Thanks very much for tuning in. Paul, do you have anything to add before we finish?
No. All good, mate.
Sweet.
All good. Thanks for having us on.
And I'll be back again next week. Hopefully Peter can come on with us and chat about some stuff, and Paul can make it. He'll be back with us as well.
Thank you. Adios.
See ya.